Welcome to Equilibrium Live. We are episode 9, and I'm your host, Sarah Téibo. Today I have a full panel. I don't think we've had this many people on Equilibrium Live yet. And we're going to be talking about the realities of being an independent artist, the hustles, the hurdles, and the triumph. And I'm super excited to have on today's panel some really good friends of mine, actually, who have a wealth of experience with being an independent artist and working with independent artists. So starting from the top, we have Segodi Leshalabe from South Africa. He is an artist manager and he owns a gospel music media platform. I'll let him talk a bit more about that himself. We have Becca, who is the artist manager and music maker. We have Jacy, singer-songwriter and recording artist, and we have Becca Folks as well, recording artist, singer-songwriter. She's got a devotional, and I think she's an author as well. I might be prophesying, but I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves in a bit more detail. But before we do any of that, can I just say welcome if you're on Facebook, on YouTube. Thanks for joining. Now let's do the thing we always do: share this link in your network. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Equilibrium Live is happening now. Come with your notepads and your pens, your juices and your coffees, and let's get knowledgeable together. So guys, again, thank you so much for joining. I'm really excited about today's episode because it's the reality of what we do, our bread and butter, being independent artists. And before we actually delve into the topic, and I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves a bit more, I have an icebreaker question for you. And don't steal other people's answers, okay? But
we'll borrow them.
What is your favorite movie of all time and why? Who wants to go first? And by the way, you answer the question and you introduce yourself with a bit more detail.
I'll shoot now. I love The Shawshank Redemption. It's an amazing film. And I'm far too squeamish to read any of the Stephen King books. So I'm going to say The Shawshank Redemption.
Okay.
I'm Andy, by the way.
Yes. And a bit more about you.
So I'm based in Gloucestershire in southwest of England, originally from Sheffield. And I've been involved in music since I was about 12 years old. I started up a business straight out of uni called Resound Media in 2005. Worn a lot of different hats, but always the same hairstyle, unfortunately. So I've worked as a writer, producer. I've been involved in worship leading and worship ministry in the church. I've worked as a manager, booking agent, doing artist development, and also kind of stepped into tech as well, launching a crowdfunding platform, Rocket Fuel, in 2014. So do a lot of things really to help independent music artists to kind of get to that next level.
I can attest to that. So who wants to go next?
My favorite movie of all time is actually a Nigerian film, and it's actually called Int'l the Snake.
What?
Yeah. I know it's so random. I know it's really, really random, but it's a horror film.
I can just see the sci-fi.
Yeah, exactly.
I can just see the effects.
If you think other people make horror films, you need to watch this particular film. So yeah, it's actually it's called Int'l the Snake. Any Nigerian people would, I don't know if you would know it, but anyway, it's an old film.
I'm so worried. I'm so concerned, Jacy. I'm really concerned for you now.
Yeah. I've just watched it too many times, and I have to watch it during the day. I can't watch it at night because but I'm Jacy May. I am I don't know what else to say. I'm an independent artist, a worship leader. I am a mummy. I'm a wife, and I am just trying to make music, guys. That's all I'm trying to do in this life is make music.
Yeah. I feel you. I'm there with you. Who wants to go next?
Well, I can go next. You're not gonna believe this, but I've been trying to remember my most favorite movie, but the title is just not coming to my head.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go for my second favorite, which is the Jason Bourne set of movies. Like I don't know how many times I've watched them over and over again. Yes. My name is Segodi Leshalabe. I'm from South Africa, based in Joburg in Midrand. I'm an artist manager. I also am a concert promoter. I stage live events. And because of this pandemic, COVID that we are in right now, I've also established an online platform that's called Mega Gospel TV, which we actually use to then screen most of the concerts that we do. And yeah, that's it about me. Thanks.
That's really exciting. Becca, your turn.
I've been really racking my brain.
I can tell.
I've come to a decision, and it has to be Jim Carrey's version of The Grinch.
The Grinch.
It has to be, from the costume to the songs to just Jim Carrey.
Yeah, I agree.
He just really took on the whole role, and you know, maybe there's a possibility that I know most words of the film, but you know, and yeah, so it has to be The Grinch. I don't just watch at Christmas.
My days.
But yes, yes, I know. But I'm Becca, folks. I'm 26 years old, from London, and I have a really cool job and responsibility of writing cool songs about Jesus, and how he's changed my life, and about his goodness and hopes that he changed your life too. So that's why.
I love that. That's really beautiful. And I think the way that you've actually described yourself gives us a nice segue into the first question, because you talked about you have a real cool job. When you said that word, my mind pictured something, and you carried on, and responsibility of writing and singing about Jesus. And I was like, yes, that is literally the summation of what we do. But I mean, as an independent artist, the reality is we feel like, yes, we're doing this, we're running, but is it really, do we feel like it's a job? I think that's probably one of the things that your introduction is a good way to probably start unpacking, you know, what it is that it means to be an independent artist, if you like. So I think the question is, what does it really mean to be an independent artist? Let's probably start from there.
Yeah. I think I say job because anything that I'm working at all the time and feel a great sense of responsibility or burden for, I consider a duty and something that I have to do. Because it's not for me. If that was the case, you know, when I first sang in secondary school and all the teachers were like, oh, you should try out for X Factor, you'll be so good, then I would have gone that way, you know, and done all of that and looked to get signed and scouted by Simon Cowell and whoever is with him at the time, you know. So it goes beyond that. It goes beyond just singing another song. It's more so about, you know, and some people may have their opinions of it, but it's all about the glorification of Jesus Christ through my songs, through a gift that I don't actually have to give back to him, by the way, because he's given it without repentance. But because of where he's brought me from, it's literally my duty to sing about him, to talk about him. And even if there's a day where he calls me to stop making music, you know, I believe that it would then go into encouraging others to do what I once did. So that's why I say job, because I really feel a burden to lift up his name through song and change the perception of gospel music or church music, whatever people want to call it. So that's why it's my job.
Yeah, I love it. That's a really good answer. I love that. Jacy, you put your hands up earlier. Did you want to?
I was pointing because I was like, I like the question.
Yeah, cool.
But what does it mean to be an independent artist? What does it mean to be an independent artist? In my opinion, it means that you are everything. You are the manager, you are the admin, you are the person who writes the lyrics sometimes. You are the promoter, you are the marketer, you are the social media manager, you are the person that funds it. You don't have a sponsor. Some of us, we don't have sponsors. There's no one funding it for us. There's no deal. There's no management company. There's no record deal there waiting for us to sign $1 million. Here you go make an album. It is a lot of grafting, a lot of plowing, a lot of sowing seeds, a lot of sometimes disappointment and sometimes victories, which we experience. And I'm not saying that, you know, those who are not independent artists don't experience those as well, but the onus is on us to make it happen. The onus is on us to push it through. And so being an independent artist, while it has its pros, it also has its cons. But yeah, that for me is what an independent artist is.
Yeah, it's really all encompassing in a sense, and there's so many hats that you wear. Like Andy said earlier, he's worn so many hats, so his hairstyle hasn't changed. And probably coming to you, Andy, because you've obviously managed artists. I don't know if you've managed any signed artists, but from your experience working with independent artists, and probably the question would be to both yourself and Segodi, how hard do you think an independent artist needs to, no, let me rephrase the question. How real, should I say, do you think the hustle is for an independent artist, having worked with them? Because you're artist managers, and so sometimes you might take on some responsibilities for them, but in reality, how hard do they need to work? How much of a hustle does it mean? Or shouldn't indie artists have to make it in the gospel/Christian music space?
That's a really good question. Yeah, I've worked with kind of artists at all kinds of levels. Really worked with artists, you know, who are essentially entirely independent, kind of helping them, coaching and consulting. I've worked very hands-on with artists that I've managed, where we've had a team in place, which you know took a few years to build. It was just me at the start, and then I've worked with artists who've had everything paid for by labels and investors and all those kind of things. So I've kind of seen a lot of different scenarios, and also I've kind of been on the other side. You know, I was in bands when I was younger, and I've been involved in sharing my own music, and I understand kind of the plight of the artist, which is not an easy one. It's a very, very competitive marketplace, and even in the church space, in the Christian and gospel music scene, there's a huge supply and demand issue here. There's a lot of artists wanting to share their songs, and everyone just wants to listen to Hillsong, or everyone just wants to listen to what they know already. That's a real frustration, because we need to make space for people, but at the end of the day, you know, there's no point in getting angry at Premier Radio for not playing your songs, because they've only got so many hours in the day to, you know, schedule music. So I think a key is always trying to find your lane and find your thing that only you do to run your race as a writer, and you know, kind of look for new space. I think that's always what I've done with artists I've managed. When I started working with Philippa Hanna many years ago, a lifetime ago, we started working together. People were like, okay, is Philippa going to become a worship leader or do X Factor? Because there was no market for a Christian singer-songwriter doing the kind of CCM thing in the UK. There was no scene to tour and all this kind of stuff. So we just built everything up ourselves in terms of contacts and a circuit to do events. We had to work really hard, because there was no kind of ladder to climb up, as it were. You had to kind of create your own model, which involved doing all kinds of different things and treading a lot of new territory as well. So I know it's really, really hard for people, and you need a lot of help. You need a lot of patience to progress. It's, you know, the Beatles put it best when they talk about the long and winding road. You know, it really is that for music artists.
That's a really good answer, and I'm going to come back on a point you raised about carving your own path. But before we unpack that, I'm going to let Segodi also give his perspective, more so from the South African Christian community. It'd be interesting to know. I'd be surprised if it was any difference, but I'd love to hear from you, Segodi.
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty much the same. it's not one of the easiest ventures or missions to go into. It's like you need lots of patience, like Andy mentioned, but you also need to put in the work. You gotta put in the effort, because there's just so many, especially with South Africa itself. It's like it's not such a very big market, and there's just so many artists in the same space. Everybody releasing music, and now that actually the music industry has just gone global, it's almost like not only are you trying to get attention, only competing with your local artists, but even other artists from other countries as well. But if you put in the work, if you put in the effort, eventually, it might take a bit of time, but eventually, things begin to fall into place, and that's what we do. We just keep on hustling.
Keep on hustling. I love that.
It's an industry that never sleeps, so we just keep going.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
It's interesting you use the word compete, Segodi, and I think you're absolutely right that artists are competing with each other, and they're doing that even in the Christian music space. And I've kind of always been really unsettled by this. I think a lot of Christian artists are looking at what the pop stars do and what Instagram is doing and all this kind of stuff, and it does get very competitive, even if we never say that kind of out loud. And I think there's a real need for real collaboration and community, because I think in communities you can really spur each other on and grow, and it can really set the bar. And I think a lot of independent artists, when Jacy May was talking about kind of doing everything yourself, that's a really isolating place if you're literally carrying all of that weight yourself. And I know from just from 6 months of working with you, Sarah, I've learned loads from you and seeing what you do as an independent artist, and you'd probably put your hand up and say you've learned things from me as well in terms of
loads, absolutely.
all of that. Yeah. And I think there's something really powerful in that, working together and trying to get away from that competitive thing, because I think that as my Bible kind of tells me, I think we're all on the same team when it comes to Christian and gospel artists and worship leaders, but it can feel like you're looking for market share of Christian media. And I'm like, there's a big wide world out there who we're supposed to share good news with. And I'd love to see more expressions of that, where, there are things happening which are really collaborative and all that kind of stuff. But I think this is such an important thing to look at. A lot of artists do feel like they're hustling, and maybe there's something a little bit not quite right about that in the kind of church space. Now
you've actually taken me off, because I was going to raise the point about carving your own path, but at the same time we've raised the question around competition and collaboration and kind of coming together. But nonetheless, I feel like there's a need, given it's a saturated market, not to say to compete, but to stand out, right? So how does an independent artist actually stand out in the midst of hundreds of people doing exactly more or less the same things? We're all singing about Jesus, right? We're all writing worship music. We're all saying, singing inspirational gospel, whatever it is. So how, as an independent artist, do you actually stand out from the crowd and carve your own path? Because the reality is you need to do that to succeed. I've found you need to do that to succeed.
I think the Bible gives a great picture of the body, how we're all part of the same body, but we all have different functions. And I think that's maybe the way to look at it, right? I do teach people about, carving out your own path and standing out from the crowd, and of course, all those kind of marketing principles. But I think there's something slightly different to look at in terms of when you're looking at music ministries being part of a body. So yeah, I'll kind of let someone else pitch in, because I don't want to. No,
that's fine. Yeah. Maybe Jacy. Okay, go.
Okay, sorry. I'll let Jacy go. Ladies first, then I'll come after.
So I think just bouncing off what Andy was saying, everybody wants to be the head, right? Everybody wants to be number one. Everybody wants to be the head. And I think with the ever-changing rules of music and the ever-changing rules of social media, and with the attention span of 15 seconds or 30 seconds, we don't have the luxury anymore of being able to just drop an album and come back a year later. Like, that is completely gone. Like that era of music is gone. And I think a lot of us are finding it difficult to keep up with the demand of having to put out content and music every so often. And so I think that just going back to your question, collaboration isn't also always easy, because a lot of us artists are very sensitive, so we don't like rejection. And so if we approach somebody and it's a no, then you're kind of like, ooh,
I know.
Do I really need to do that again? Or you put out something and it doesn't go, or you put out music and it doesn't get the response that you were looking for. And sometimes as well, some of us don't know where to look for collaboration. Some of us don't know. Some of us don't know the doors that we need to knock on, or the people that we need to email to start kind of having those conversations, because everybody's feeling like, oh, you just want something from me. And that's the space that we're living in. And I think the only way that collaboration is really going to come is really through relationships. And
totally.
building relationships that are strong, that are not just, oh my God, we just did a feature together, but how are you? How's life? Are you good? Are you just, I think the moment we take it, I think the moment we kind of start building relationships, and it doesn't have to be anything deep, but I think the moment we stop feeling like everybody wants a piece of me, I think then we'll see a lot more collaboration, and true collaborations that make sense. Because I find that the best collaborations come through relationship, and you can tell through the music, you can tell through the content, you can tell through the artistry that, oh my God, that really, really worked. And so collaboration takes two things. It takes boldness to reach out and say, hey, I really want to collaborate with you, would you like to work with me? And the second thing is that we need to learn to build relationship and know that we are not an island, because we can't build an island by ourselves. So that's my 2 pence on that.
Yeah. Segodi.
I think what I also wanted to add was to say, maybe, as an artist, like you have a message that you really want to deliver, or you have a story that you want to tell. And I believe that message that you're going to be bringing across through song, it's actually the one that's going to make you to stand out. Because yes, we might all be, we all singing about Jesus, but we all carrying a different message to actually different people, or a remnant of people that have actually been set aside for us to come and minister to. And I think that in itself will definitely, help you to stand out without you even trying to stand out. Like that your weight, your message itself is just gonna, help you to stand out. And also just to really emphasize the aspect of collaboration, because like earlier when I was talking about, the platform that we do, Mega Gospel and stuff like that, how that whole thing started is that we just wanted to bring artists together, to come and minister together under one roof. We'll take one artist from there and then just bring them together, because we said, you know what, no man is an island. Let's come together under one roof. Let's come and, bring your own music, and then let's come and minister together. And we've been doing it for 10 years.
Wow.
And, it's just been amazing, Yeah.
That's brilliant. Becca, I don't know if you want to weigh into that before and I'll come back to you, Andy. Do you want to weigh into that, Becca? Sorry. Do you want to add to that, Becca? Sorry.
No, I mean, what everyone said, it just rings so true, and it's what I've come to realize, because everything we do in this industry, our careers, our ministries, whatever word you choose to use, is relational.
Yeah.
The relationship you have with your band that you tour with and you travel with, the BVs that you sing with and go out to eat with after the concert at the church. But most importantly, everything is firstly built off the relationship you've had with Christ. So there's no way you could think that in this journey as an artist or a musician or a Christian content creator, whatever, that you can do so without relationship when the core of what you're doing is based off of a relationship, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just concur and agree with everything everyone said.
Yeah. So were you going to say something, Andy, before I move on to the next point?
Yeah, I was just going to give a short kind of example. Really, I've always encouraged artists. The way that you share your songs is often as important as the songs themselves in many ways. I think Segodi kind of alluded to this. The story is so important because we're all using the same 12 notes or often 5 notes and 4 chords, and so many of us are sending the UK our songs to the same 2 radio stations, and everyone's in the same lanes. So your story is where you break out. So when I started the Homegrown Worship community in 2018, I decided to do something really different. I decided, rather than making an album, which no one would, not many people would listen to and would just lose lots of money, I decided to get into a content flow, and I did a song, a studio recording, lyric video, and a blog every week for 52 weeks. It was literally like a marathon. It was insane, like how many hours and late nights and all of that. And then having done that, I was quite tired, and it cost a lot of money to do that. I decided to do a sprint. So I decided on the 1st of April last year, we wrote, recorded, and released an album in a day, in 24 hours. It was like an anti-April Fool's joke. We actually did it. And those things like really interest people because I'm kind of running my race differently. I'm not trying to compete on the strength of my selfies because I'll lose. I'm not going to win in that game. I'm a bald man. I can't compete with all of you people with hair. Segodi feels my pain here, but if you're competing at games that everyone else is playing, you're not going to win. And so I always encourage people to do that. Find a way to tell your story, but also think about how you share your songs, and don't just do what everyone else is doing, because you're going to be too late to the party. Everyone is like, oh, I should probably start TikTok now. Well, you should have been doing that 2 years ago, or you should have been thinking of something fresh to do rather than just following the trends and the crowd, feeling behind on all those things.
That is really insightful, I have to say. So one thing I wanted to actually ask, obviously, I've got 2 independent artists here, and I've got 2 artist managers who could probably tell stories of their artists. But talking about, carving your path, standing out, collaboration, relationships, your journey has come a long way, as a matter of fact. And for those who are watching, who are listening, who may be aspiring to be independent artists, and from all what we've said, it probably sounds a bit daunting to start with, but I know that there are triumphs as well in your stories. So it'd be interesting to know from you, what are the maybe just one key highlight of your career that started out as a challenge, as a hurdle, but you managed to scale that hurdle and it turned out as a triumph, because it's always great to share should I say, success stories as well, and maybe something that people can learn from your experience, but probably starting with Becca and Jacy, and then I'll let Andy and Segodi, maybe from their artists, there's a story you can tell as well that could inspire and encourage people. So I don't know who wants to go first.
I just saw Becca go first. You're on mute, but I just saw the mouth. I knew it.
Oh dear.
One that comes to mind, that to this day, whenever I think about it, I laugh because I think it's so funny. But anyway, I remember when I started off, what I kept on hearing was like, oh, you're the UK this person, or the UK that person. And I still go to a church now. I grew up in a church where it's a church called Kojic, and it's like ladies skirts and dresses only, known for like a big choral, heavy vibrato sounds. And though that was how I was trained essentially growing up, as I got into like my teens and my 20s, I was like, oh, but I like pop and reggaeton and bashment and Afrobeat as well. Like I like all this other stuff. Like I like Sting. I like, every now and then I might listen
You
to
just like music, basically.
So, I like all these different things.
Yeah.
Why do I just have to do that? So when I first started, I really didn't know who I was. I was just kind of going with the flow and direction of, who was managing me at the time, or like older people in the game who would say, you sound like this, you sound like that, blah, blah, blah. And the victory kind of from all of that is years later to be awarded for my originality. 2019 when I won a Premier Gospel Award. I was around the back getting ready to sing. So I thought, oh, they've put the category right before my performance. I know I haven't won. Like, I was convinced that Sarah won because she did the album. The promo was crazy. She just did the Fred Hammond remix. I was like, yeah, it's Sarah's. I was ready to do my woos. And then they called my name and I was like... So before I went on stage, I was even shaking. But it's a victory because to go from not knowing who I was to really being intentional about making music that reflects my story and my style and my personality. It shows the fruit of being original shows. And there's only so much God can do with a counterfeit anyway. So I'd say that's one of the highlights of my journey.
That is beautiful. That's a journey of self-identity. That's really good. Jacy?
I would say I honestly would say I haven't put out as much music as the two of you. However, I would say that my proudest moments are being able to sell out my worship nights.
Yes, I'm so proud of you for those, actually, can I say? But carry on.
Yeah. I remember the first one that I did November 2016, and that was for 150 people, and no one knew me at that point, but we were able to sell out. I had my daughter, and then came back and did it for 90 people, and that sold out. And then last year I had 3 worship nights. I did one in Birmingham, one in London, and then another one in London, and they sold out. And I don't have that much music out there. Do you know what I mean? I don't have that much music, but to see almost 400 people pay a ticket to come to a worship service without having that much content out there in terms of Spotify and Apple is a massive achievement.
It is.
For me, because what people don't tell you is that you grow more offline than you do online. And so the grafting that you have to do offline to get what you need online is a lot hard. It's a lot.
And we are coming to that. It's actually one of the points I want to touch on today as well. Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Yeah, I'm glad you said that.
So for me, being able to host worship services and every single one of them be sold out without having as much material as I have, and with the number of followers I have on Instagram, that for me is a victory, and it can be done. So
I would imagine there's some hard work that went to that, but we can always touch on that. Andy and Segodi, you want to share any stories from your artists that people can be inspired by?
Yes. Firstly, I just wanna say, wow, big up to Jacy, because having done live events, I know how difficult it is to actually get to bring people in. Lots of people will promise you that we're coming. On social media, they'll be like, we are all gonna be there, and then come the night, you're wondering.
But these are let me also say this, but they're all paid events. They weren't free.
Yes.
Yeah, so every single paid ticket, and they're above £20. So
wow. Wow.
Show off. Oh my
God.
Yeah. No, it's good. Let's celebrate the successes. It's good.
Exactly. And it's inspiring as well, I think with regards to the story that I can share, with the artists that I manage, and it goes to what I always preach to everybody that I meet, to say, seek out any available opportunity that you can grasp as an independent artist, because you don't necessarily have all the resources to actually achieve what you want to achieve, but there are lots of opportunities that you can look out for. And one of the achievements that we did manage to do was that I think it was around 2017 for both artists that I managed. We actually managed to to get funded to attend the Medium Conference, which was in France, you know. So we literally didn't have to pay anything except just, you know, to cover our visa costs and travel insurance. But like, and it was such a huge, great platform for us as well, because we even got to be able to showcase some of our music there. So for me, I think it was quite, you know, just having both artists there at the event, it really was something that I think it was such a great story for me and for them as well. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. That's excellent. Andy, I'm sure you have 1,001 stories.
Yeah,
it's like, which one?
I'll stick to one, maybe two. I love the story of David and Goliath. It's such a great story. So anything where the odds are completely stacked against you, it's just an amazing it's an amazing thing. So I met a duo called Daughters of Davis it was like 2011. It was coming on 10 years ago now. And they are two sisters who bought a camper van off eBay, and they just went touring from town to town, singing for their supper, trying to make a name for themselves. And they were broke. They were really struggling. They were living in this converted work van. It was literally the water would freeze in the van, and they didn't have a shower or anything. It was quite grotty. And I really loved the girls. They were so talented and driven and motivated, and we wanted to help them, and we thought, how can we help them? And they wanted to make an album. I was like, okay, we can make an album, but why don't we tell your story? Because your story is really unique. You're two sisters living in a van, you know, and it was really interesting. So we actually did our first ever crowdfunding campaign, and we raised money to make a documentary about them living in a van and do some interviews and take their footage they captured on the road. And it just the snowball kind of started rolling. We got some money together. We made this documentary. I'd never made a documentary before, but I was like, let's have a go at it. Let's do it. And we told their story, and people loved it. They saw the DVD, and we got them in the press, and then the snowball kept rolling. And we got a grant that we applied for through Help Musicians UK. And we're like, wow, that's amazing. They got several £1,000s to show the DVD in cinemas and theaters and do concerts. Wow. And it was like, wow, this is incredible. And then something ridiculous happened. We came across a publicist who worked with the Caravan Club. It's not very rock and roll, but the Caravan Club have 1 million members in the UK. So a big company, you know, thousands and thousands of sites linked with the Caravan Club. And they loved the DVD. They were like, this is awesome. The girls are great. How can we help them? And I said something really audacious. I said, they need a new van. Can you help us get a new van? Because the girls were living in a van. They weren't particularly, you know, plush with money. They didn't have funds to get a new van. And people had told me, you'll never get a vehicle. No one will ever sponsor you a vehicle. Celebrities doing charity projects can't get even loaned a vehicle, let alone someone giving you a vehicle. But going back to the kind of David and Goliath thing, I just thought, well, let's give it a go and see what we can do. And somehow the first conversation the Caravan Club had with one of their van companies they work with, they came back and said, Eldis have this brand new compact motorhome they're launching. They have a press vehicle available, and we'd like to give it to you.
Whoa.
And so we got given this van for a year, and it was like amazing. And we landed the girls on 3 major tours, opening for household name, you know, big artists in the UK and Europe. We did so much press. We did 36,500 miles in a year. And at the end of the year, they just gave us the vehicle. They literally gave us the V5 because we'd done so many miles, they couldn't resell it, you know, quite as much. But it literally was a miracle. It was an incredible journey, you know, over a couple of years of really working on selling the story. Some amazing things happened. So that was probably my favorite. It's my favorite story to tell because you know, it's a real kind of a real adventure. Amazing. These things can happen when you believe them and you work hard at them, and you know, you go for it, and you look to collaborate with other people, you know?
Yeah. That's brilliant. And I think that's such an inspiring story. I didn't even realize that they actually they started out, you know, in a camper van that had no running water and stuff like that, because I have encountered them in a few events, and there's such beautiful pair of ladies. They have this red lipstick thing they do as well, I think, if I'm not mixing them up with someone else. I could be completely wrong. They have this lipstick. Do they have something to do with lipstick, Andy?
Well, I think the story I probably tell with Rocket Fuel, our crowdfunding site, is they were selling. Is the crowdfunding campaign we did. You could buy a DVD for £10, or for £50, you could buy a DVD in red lipstick.
Exactly, yeah, something like that. Yeah,
£1.50 Revlon lipstick. So it's always an encouragement to artists to offer upsells to people, because supporters actually want to support you. So don't always try and compete with Amazon on your pricing when it comes to your merch, because like Jacy said, she's obviously like charging people a premium rate for her events. She's not doing bargain basement prices for her events, and that's what you should be doing as an independent artist. You shouldn't be trying to compete with the kind of mass market, as it were. You've got something, and if it's more of a kind of a smaller family following you have, then get people kind of involved.
Definitely. But kind of taking it back to the story of them in the freezing cold in the grotty setting, it does kind of paint the picture of the reality of being an independent artist, because they're passionate. I mean, they could have done anything, but they went that way because they're passionate about creating music, about the message that they have to share. And I know someone like Jacy, Becca, and the artists that you guys work with would be, working day and night, just kind of doing the hard work to get the music out, to get the message out. So I think probably it would be worth also exploring with you guys the reality of the hurdles and the hustles. For example, Jacy, you sold out several events, but I can imagine that you had to do a lot of work to speak to people, to I don't know, probably not social media, because you're probably not selling them on social media. Whatever it is that you had to do, I think people will be looking to learn, because one of the things that I've found from these sessions is that there are people who are genuinely hungry to do well and to thrive as independent artists, but there aren't that many sources of knowledge and information. So hearing your story, learning from your personal journey, I think would do a load of good for some people who are watching. So probably worth just kind of giving a bit of insight into the realities of the work that comes with being an independent artist, whether you want to talk about promotion, about branding, about creating music, writing, recording, whatever it is that is a reality of the work. You want to give us an example, would be useful as well for somebody who's looking and going, I want to be an indie artist, but I haven't got a clue how to be prepared. How do I get myself prepared for this journey?
Well, I'm going to say this, and it might be quite controversial, but indie artists need to start looking at or thinking like business people.
Yep.
Because with a business, there is marketing, there is branding, there is a message that you give. I'm going to use the good old Nike where it says, just do it. Everybody knows, just do it. Everybody remembers the Coca-Cola Santa Claus at the Christmas, their Christmas adverts, John Lewis's Christmas adverts, and all of those little things help. As an independent artist, it is so important to, one, understand who you are, but I get that along the way you're not always going to be able to do that. So try different things and try and figure out what works for you. But the biggest thing you have to do is know your audience and understand who your audience is. They have to know, like, and trust you. And that is with any business. That's with any business. They have to know, like, and trust you. And if they don't know, like, and trust you, they're not going to be bought into you like that. And so you have to, as musicians now, as creatives, we now have to start understanding the pain point of the people that we are producing this music to. And so a lot of the reasons why I haven't released music is not, one, because I don't want to. It's because I want to be in a position where when I do release music, it's not out of because I have to release music, but it's out of, actually, I've listened to my audience. I kind of know what they want. I kind of know what they're listening to. And so therefore I can create music in a way that, one, benefits me and music that I love, but one, and also music that I know that my audience will gravitate towards. I remember saying this to you, Sarah, that I have a bigger email. I have an email list of the size of over 6,000 people, and I have more people on my mailing list than I do followers. And so a lot of my grafting has been, jump on my mailing list, Let's build a relationship there. Let's build a relationship offline. And a lot of that grafting comes from doing free masterclasses like this on YouTube, or, you know, having Zoom calls. You just have to learn how to carve out, and especially what Andy said, you have to learn to carve yourself out. So if you know that you are someone who is who loves love songs and who loves to talk about the love of God, then trust me, people who need that will gravitate towards that.
Yeah.
People who need to understand the grace of God will gravitate towards that. And like everybody said, everybody has a message. And I think until we tap into the message that we were born to give on this earth, we will understand the kind of music and the kind of content that we are going to create. So for me, a lot of the work and the hard work has been, well, I don't want this to fall on deaf ears. So it means that knowing that social media only show 5% of your posts, only show your post to 5% of your followers. Why would I do that when I know that I can get a 40% to 50% rate of my open email rate? And knowing that they've opened it and read it and clicked on, that's more beneficial for me to work on than for me growing an Instagram of 100,000 and I can't even sell 10,000. I can't even sell 1,000 tickets. That doesn't make sense to me. So until we start thinking as business people, which is where I need us to get to, then I think for indie artists, it will become a lot easier for us. So yeah.
That's a really good one. So as you're preparing to jump into the ocean of being an indie artist, have your business head or business hat on. I love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Who wants to go next?
Well, I just wanted to jump. Oh, sorry, Becca. Yeah, you go for it.
There you go, Becca. Let's go. Let's hear you, Becca. We haven't heard you in a few minutes.
All I was gonna say is it's just so interesting that when you asked the question, Sarah, you said, you know, what are some of the things you'd give advice about regarding being an indie artist? And I think a lot of people, not a lot, but some people get into this not wanting to be indie artists. They expect that a team just comes along or them and a couple mates can just bang it out and do it. And so it's very interesting that you were super, super clear on what are some tidbits you'd give on being an indie artist. Where, like Jacy said, there's a lot of this that you have to do on your own and you have to learn and adapt to, and you know, stuff like that. So it wasn't anything long, it's just that. So it's very key that people listen into these points. Our experience lies in being independent, not in being signed with huge teams and machine with loads of financial backing. So it's very important that everyone just makes the differentiation between the two.
Absolutely. And I remember when I started out, I was asking one of my mentors, and obviously I was as ignorant as they come. Yeah. So I was asking my mentor, so who's going to manage me? And she's like, well, nobody knows you. You're not going to get managed. Like, you don't have a following, you know, it's like, you don't have anything. What do you mean who's going to manage you? And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, you need to have a following. And when she she gave me the literally baptism of fire. But the minute she said that, I got the memo straight away. I'm like, oh, is that what it is? Okay, then off I go, you know. But it's like, the reality is there is so much that needs to be done. And most of it starts with us. I'm naturally an introvert. If you go on my Instagram, you see my bio literally says that naturally I would want to just sit in the corner, read a book. On Sunday, for example, when Italy equalized, I went to bed. I didn't watch the rest of the match. That's me. I literally was like, nah, I can't handle this. I went to bed. So I'm that person who normally, and that's probably why I tend to work a lot, because that's me in my space. Like when I'm just by myself, I just work and then I sleep. You know, that's who I am. But the point being, I wouldn't have been on social media if I didn't do music. That's the reality. So when it dawned on me that if I do not speak about my music myself, no one else will, because guess what? No one else knows my music but me, because I'm new, you know. So I had to then come out of my shell and be like, oh, in case you didn't know, I actually sing. Oh, and by the way, I have literally, and that was how I started coming out and being like, you know, being my own marketing person and promoter and learning new skills and observing and watching. Sometimes I sit and watch X Factor, not because I care, but because I just want to see what Simon is saying and I'm taking notes. Sometimes I'm watching ads and I'm going, oh, what did they do there? And I'm taking notes. The subliminal messages that are being put in certain things, I'm like, how can I? Literally, I'm learning marketing from observing marketers and observing things that other people are doing and because again, I don't have a marketer. I'm building my different skill sets that I need in different areas. Equally with branding, I know the day is coming when I'm going to share my first ever single artwork, and you're all going to fall down laughing because when literally one day I'm going to share it on social media. I was stood by the wall like this. This is the ignorant me coming in. I looked at it the other day and I favorited it on my phone so that I can get it easily when I decide to share it. But they then blurred out the background. It was the cheesiest thing you'll ever see, right? But I thank God for people in my life who are like, Sarah, no, this isn't going up. Look at the song you've done. Look at the artwork. And that goes to branding. So now I'm thinking, oh, I didn't realize. And you're beginning to learn, so there's such a thing as branding. It's not enough to have a song. It's not enough to know you can sing. How do you look compared to the song? And then as an indie artist, you're starting to say, okay, so I do my marketing, I have to think of branding, and then you start carving out different lanes all by yourself. But then as it was said on the artist manager episode, I think it was episode 7, it gets to a point where you then need to start getting people into your space. It got to a point where I started making a list of all the things that I do myself and thinking, what can I pass on to somebody else? Because the list is growing long. And there are certain things I hold on to really tight that I don't even want to delegate. But there's certain things I can be like, yeah, I can pass this on to somebody. But you need to know all the things that need to be done so that if it's being missed, it's missed. But if you don't know what needs to be done, if someone says they're doing it, but they're not, you wouldn't even know. You would be none the wiser. So that's why it's very important as independent artists to, as much as possible, try and learn every aspect of the art. Even if you're signed, try and put your head and ask questions. Try and know what's going on where you're probably not even supposed to be involved. Because if you get dropped tomorrow, how would you pick up? And that's one of the reasons why in the mainstream, when people get dropped from labels, they're completely shattered because they haven't got a clue where to pick themselves up. I don't even know why I jumped in, but yeah, there it is. So I thought I'll just leave that there. I don't know who wants to add to that.
No, yeah, I was just going to say that that it's so funny that you said that, because I actually wasn't getting my information from people in the music business, because sometimes people in the music business hold things so tight to their chest they don't want to share it. So I ended up watching people like Gary Vee. I ended up watching people like Amy Porterfield, who knew about branding and marketing. I actually literally started following people who talked about marketing and branding. And even though they were selling digital courses online, I thought, you know what, I'm going to learn a lot here, because they're actually talking the same language that we would need in music. And so while the music industry was holding information so dear to their chest, like someone was about to kill them if you asked for the information, I was then looking outside of music and saying, okay, where can I get this information from? What does this information look like? Okay, I need to build an email list as a musician. Okay, what does that look like as a musician? And so, yes, don't be offended if you don't get the information within the music industry. But trust me, when you search for business, you're going to find what marketing, what branding, what promotion looks like. I didn't learn Facebook ads for music industry. I literally took a course to do that. I learned Instagram ads from taking a course. It wasn't, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm just going to put £15 on Instagram posts and then let it go everywhere. No, I understood where my audience was, where they lived, what time they would be on social media, and then be able to send that out for them to sign onto my mailing list. But all of this didn't come from the music industry. This came from me understanding people like Gary Vee, who swears a lot but has really great content, and you can listen to what he's saying and hearing, or studying people like the American artist Russ, who put out a single every single week, and then you're looking at, okay, how did you do that? Why did you do that? Okay, so it sometimes your information won't come from the industry that you love.
Yeah.
So you have to look outside and be able to break yourself from the box of, oh my God, everything comes in here. Because I guarantee you that sometimes the marketing or the branding person that you may hire may not know anything about music, but they may be the best person for you because they don't know the music industry. And so they're able to direct you and send you that way. So yeah, that's just my 2 pence.
No, that's really good, Jacy. Segodi?
I've got my most favorite phrase that I literally share it with every artist that I'm coming across, and I say, think like an artist, act like an entrepreneur, because
I like that. I'm gonna type that out.
because basically when you're getting into the industry, like you're gonna need to learn the business side of it. If you really want to come into it for the long term of it, and you want to be able to make a success of it, I say invest time into learning the business, invest time into know what is the product that you are actually going to try to monetize, like know about the copyright, because the copyright is really the foundation of what you're going to be monetizing at the end of the day, you know. And then I always say, okay, who's your best friend? If they tell me my best friend is so and so, I say, okay, I'm going to ask you to elevate them to number 2. Make Google your best friend, because that's where you're going to find all the information that you're going to be seeking for. You're going to find lots of free tools that you can use, lots of even lots of ideas, lots of mistakes that other people have done. You learn from those mistakes, because hey, you can't live long enough to be able to do all of them yourself. So learn from those, learn what not to do. And once you have all that in place, really, you are able to actually start the journey, because now you are very much prepared for the journey ahead. Yeah.
I love that.
You're absolutely right, Segodi. I think you have to have kind of an entrepreneurial standpoint as an artist. I think it fits in with what you said, Sarah. You've got to know a little about a lot of different things. You can't know everything about every area. You can't be an expert in every area, but you need to know a little about a lot of things. Now, I do a program with artists, helping people put together their kind of business plans and pitches, and it's surprised me over 16 years of running a business how few artists have an actual business plan, something that is outside of their head, or not just a list on a notepad, but an actual plan that someone else could help them with, an action. And I spend a lot of time sharing this with artists, because I'm really passionate about helping artists to actually make their businesses work. And then you explain to artists what's involved in creating a plan. And it might cost the same amount that you would pay to do a track or a music video to work with me to do a business plan. And artists, it's not sure it's really for me. I'll go and spend it on the track, or I'll go and spend it on the video. And this is just the kind of the challenge I think a lot of artists have, is they're willing to invest in the things that interest them, but they're not willing to invest in the things that are really going to help them in the long run. And it's not that you can't learn yourself. Of course you can learn yourself, and you can watch YouTube videos and all those kind of things. But I think having a mentor, having someone who's been there, who's seen the pitfalls, who's tried things and failed, and tried things and found what's worked, that can save you so much time than if you're trying to do everything yourself and learn everything yourself and fail and pick yourself up and all of that. But I think there's a real kind of question that I always kind of ask artists, what are your goals, business goals? Creative goals are kind of often quite easy to articulate, but you have to marry together your creative aims and your business goals, and you have to have that sense of them working together like a marriage. Sometimes you have to make decisions that are kind of really your creative decisions. Others have to be more business decisions, and the aim is to try and get those collaborating rather than working in conflict. But I think there's a real need for I think it's kind of the high level education on how to build a brand. And it's not just about getting followers. Like we teach artists this really simple framework, and it's basically crowd, community, core. Now your crowd is everyone who knows your name, and normally these people are in closed systems. They hear your music on the radio or TV or Instagram. They connect with you from afar, but the problem is you can't reach them. Like Jacy was saying, 5% of people see your posts, on Instagram and that kind of thing. So the aim is to try and get your crowd into a community where, like Jacy, an email list, a great way of building a crowd, or getting them into a social media platform where you can connect with them, a Facebook group or a WhatsApp group, or onto your website. And then the aim is to get them into the core where they become buyers. Because if you don't have buyers or supporters, it's unlikely for most people that their business will work at crowd level, where just everything, you get enough streams. A crowd member's worth maybe 10 pence a year through Spotify streaming. A community member on your email list might be worth £10 a year, but a core member could be worth £100 a year. We find that through Rocket Fuel, our direct-to-fan platform. £100 a year is the average when an artist is actively using the platform. That's 1,000 times more revenue than you get from your crowd level supporters. But it's so rare to find an artist who is excited about getting a plan together. An artist who'd sacrifice doing one song to do a business plan. I think if I had those kind of artists, I think things would really move forward for those people.
You do have, Andy, those kind of artists, excuse me.
Well, we won't talk about you. I talked to you about business plan, Sarah, and you were like, I just need help promoting.
Yeah, definitely.
I couldn't show you the plan. You still haven't done the plan.
I sent you the plan in 2 seconds. But here's the thing, though. I have to say, talking about what Andy just said, the crowd, the core, and the inner circle, I can attest to it working for me, right? Because I started working with Andy, and I know he didn't ask me to say this, by the way, but I started working with Andy at the start of this year, and I have to say my core has grown. So much so that when I announced my concert, because for those who don't know, my album is out at the end of this month, and I have a virtual album release concert happening on the 24th of July. But when I announced it, my core straight away gone and bought tickets. I even had VIP tickets sold, and it's a virtual event. So imagine a virtual event with a VIP ticket. It's not like I'm going to put you in an AC or something. You're sitting in your house to watch it. But the VIP ticket was actually, and I was thinking, wow, it actually helped me have confidence as well in knowing that I have a core of fans who, as Jacy said, like, know, and trust. I love know, like, and trust, those 3 words. I think your core is literally those people who not just know you, because the crowd can know you, right? People on the outside could like you, but your inner circle would know, like, and trust you. And I think working with you, Andy, has been, one of the best things that's happened to me in the last 6 months. But I digress. I know your hair's starting to grow now from what I just said. But
hair on my head. So my hair hasn't grown.
Oh, my days. But no, it's very, very important. And I think that kind of takes us to the next topic, which is around just working with people who can help. Because I remember when I started, I literally had to invest in knowledge. I paid a music consultant for a number of sessions. This was back in 2015 or 14, I can't remember now. I didn't want to start anything until I'd actually spoken to an expert. And even till today, I have a budget for consulting. If I'm going to do another project, I still want to have a budget that is set aside for speaking to somebody who can help me in my journey, who can give me some advice and some tips. And I think that is something, because when you talked about just now, Andy, the fact that, when a quote is given to support with strategizing and planning, the artist is like, nah, I just want to produce the music. What tends to happen is we do the music, but then we don't go as far as we could because we haven't invested in and equipping ourselves. It's like wanting to be an accountant and just going off and applying for jobs when you haven't trained to be an accountant. To train to be an accountant, you have to pay to go a course and pay for an exam, so it feels like when we come to the field of particularly Christian and gospel independent music, it's like, yeah, I've got the anointing and the leading and the Holy Spirit has given me all these songs, I'm just going to go off. So I just want to kind of open it up, maybe starting with Segodi and working our way around the importance of actually investing in information and knowledge before we even go out. Because the other thing that I'd say more so for upcoming and maybe even established artists need to prioritize is knowledge, which is actually why I'm doing this equilibrium, but I think knowledge is quite key. So just wanted to get your thoughts on that, how critical it is for independent artists and different ways that you can think of recommending free, paid, cheap, whatever sources of information and knowledge from South Africa back to the UK.
Yeah, I think even from the scripture it says, "My people perish for lack of knowledge." If you don't have knowledge, you're really setting up yourself for failure. So it's very important to invest into it. think of yourself as saying, I'm actually laying up a foundation for my work for my musical journey for the next 10, 20 or 30 years or whatever, how long you're gonna be in there. There are multiple platforms in terms of how you can actually gather the knowledge. Like we said, online, there's a lot of free resources that you can actually utilize. When you have a question, you're able to just go into Google, you can put it up there, and you're going to have tons and tons and tons of resources that are going to come up and that you can actually go into. You can check out YouTube videos, you can check out even trying to find, because music now has actually gone very much into the technological space. So there's a lot of technology that gets involved. So when you go online, there's a lot of tools that you can actually use that will be able to actually take your music even further than where you'll be at. And the last one really is, like as Andy was saying, you need to actually be able to also find master classes that you can actually go into. Purely because when you go into that space, you don't only get the knowledge, but you get an opportunity to actually ask questions that you have to say, okay, I hear you say this, but I have this kind of scenario. How do I deal with this? And you're able to get that feedback even as you go along. So yeah, you just need to put in the hours, put in, the effort, set aside as much as, just like you have a time for rehearsals, set aside some time to say, this is my time to actually be gathering the knowledge about what I'm trying to do. Yeah.
Good. Don't know who wants to go next, Becca, Jacy?
Yeah, just going off that, I would say they say that you need to spend money to make money, right? So while free courses are great, you're going to at some point need to invest in something that will take you to the next level. So I say next level, but so I personally have invested in understanding how to, what merch looks like. And how do you include that in your music when you're releasing a single? How important it is, like Andy said at the beginning, to upsell something. So, you may have a CD, and now that CDs are no longer, there are some people who will still buy CDs, but you can also add a T-shirt to that, or you can also add a mug to that. I don't know. And just learning how to upsell, learning all about your audience is gonna need you to sit down and listen to people who have done this before you. But then also information comes from having conversations with those that have gone before you. So, sitting down with people like yourself, or people like Noel Robinson, or people like HFP, or people like Andy, and just having a conversation, even if you have to pay for their time. Like we have to get out of the notion that we are not salespeople, because we are. Whether we like it or not, we are salespeople, because we are trying to get people to stream. We are trying to get people to buy something. We are trying to get people to connect. And I know we don't like that word.
That's the hardest thing, to be honest. Yeah.
But we have to get away from the, I don't want to sound too salesy, because if you don't say, oh guys, my ticket is £20 or my ticket is £15, people will always slide into your DMs and say, oh, is there a discount? Or is there this, or is there that? And you have to be able to stand your ground and know that, this thing that God has given you is something, yes, that we're giving back to God. But also I believe God is a business person. God is not going to want you to struggle because you're trying to put out Christian music. God doesn't want you to struggle or beg for bread because you're trying to put out Christian music. So we have to learn how to invest in, and if that means that you have to spend £1,000, then spend the £1,000, because the benefits that come from that, and knowing your numbers. So that if you want to host a worship service for 200 people, I know that I have to get 2,000 people or 2,500 people to sign up just to get 200 people to buy a ticket. All that comes from knowing listening to different people and stop following people who are like you.
I like that.
Does that make sense? Like, stop following people who are like you or sound like you or do the same thing as you, because all you're going to do is just end up comparing yourself. And so all you're doing is, and while it's good, you know, all of you watching each other, and that's really great, but I've had to learn to unfollow people because the noise becomes too much. And so I feed into the noise instead of feeding into what I believe that God has given me. And so I tend to follow people who are business minded. I tend to follow people like Worship Central, who do they do masterclasses I think a weekly or bi-weekly basis, and I tune into that. You've got songwriting camps. If you want to be a better songwriter, you've got songwriting camps. You've got people who can teach you about merch. You go on YouTube, there's a guy called Damien Keys, and he teaches you all about Spotify, that. And I joined his monthly subscription, which I think was $19.99 a month. Like, all of those little things matter because those learning how to do Facebook. I paid $500 to learn how to do Facebook. Until this day, it's benefiting me, and I've reaped that money back.
Absolutely.
And so until we understand that streaming is great, but if you're not hitting 40 million streams or 50 million streams to see that money come back, you've got to learn to pivot and see, what can I do on the side that will help feed into the music, that will allow me to still keep doing the music while still being excellent and being consistent. So musicians have to learn that they can't just be musicians anymore. They have to be something else. They have to, do you know what I mean, kind of thing. Like, you've got to learn to break out and not just be a musician. It's just so for me, it's learning to not be afraid to invest in yourself. Like, you cannot, like, the fact that people are not sitting with Andy and saying, Andy tells you it's, I don't know, £999 to do a business plan. Listen, you're gonna get that £999.
You'll get your money back, Jacy.
You'll get your money back.
You will.
Without a doubt.
I'll send you the link. You can sign up tonight.
You will get your money back.
Sarah,
you'll get your money back quicker than you think. You'll get your money back quicker than you think when you start implementing the strategies.
Am I buying your course, or are you buying my course? I'm not quite sure.
Oh, well, we can exchange that for later.
Well, here's a good stat for you. Sarah joined our Rocket Fuel Academy for £99 at the end of last year, and she made £3,000 within a few weeks.
There you go.
But artists, I speak to artists who are like £99. I can just do it for free. But
it's also because it's the only job that they do, so they don't have anything on the side. So that £99 is precious.
But if you know that you're going to make money from £99, though, that's the thing. But here's the thing I have to say,
people are feeding the instant gratification. People are not looking at the long term. Does that make sense? So it's the instant. Oh my God, I've got £99. I need to go here. If I spend that money, I don't have this to be able to get to this. But really, I find that because a lot of musicians also are in a rock and a hard place, because a lot of them, this is their job. Like, there is no other job than music. I am blessed to have a 9-to-5. I do this alongside my 9-to-5 until I get to the point where I can, that can take over, and I can be like, bye 9-to-5, see you later.
Everyone's dream, girl.
Do you know what I mean? But if I didn't have that 9-to-5 coming in, I probably too would be like, ooh, but then at some point, if you don't take a risk on yourself, nobody's going to take a risk on you.
Yeah, I agree. But here's the thing, though. Even though you go on the training, there is still work to be done. It doesn't
100%.
magically mean that out of the blues, money's going to be falling on your lap.
Yeah.
It just means you're a more aggressive salesperson, or whatever it is that you weren't before. You're much better at it after you've invested.
Midnight, 1 a.m.s, midnights and 1 a.m.s, putting bed children to sleep, and then so good, so great.
It's not hard to find free advice, but the thing is finding advice worth taking, and you have to value that, because I think if you don't value someone's input, you won't follow through and take the steps, whereas if you spend a lot of money on a course or a program, you're more likely to follow through and realize the value. But that's something, I guess, it's a difficult thing to know, because there's a lot of distrust in the music. A lot of people who see, or even like myself, I get accused of being a salesman. And I'm like, well, yeah, I am selling something. Every business is selling something. And it switches people off because they think you have an ulterior motive. Most people I work in helping artists, it's not because they think, this is the easiest hustle. On the other side, selling to art, it's a really hard market. So I think the thing is you have to look at what's kind of on offer and think about, is this something I'm on board with? Do I want to learn this? Is it going to bring me value? But yeah, finding information I think is not hard, but it's trying to find relevant information. Like if you want to grow your business as an artist, you need a business plan. But if you're just starting out, you don't need a business plan. You need to maybe join one of these academies or groups where you can learn a lot about a lot of different things and kind of step forward a bit at a time. But there comes a point where if you want to scale your business, you have to be like Segodi, you have to be entrepreneurial. You can't expect the money to come flooding in if you don't have a business model that's working. So yeah, I understand it's not easy. It's not easy being a music artist, and there's so many things like it's a multifaceted business model. Thinking about writing, recording, and then selling and streaming and doing merch and dispatching your merch, touring and licensing your content and all these kind of it's really, really complex. And that's why I really empathize and sympathize for DIY artists. People are literally doing everything themselves. There are so many plates to spin, and it's not easy to do it.
Yeah, speaking of spinning many plates, I mean, at the end of the day, we don't want independent artists to feel like they are on their own, and that they have to get it all at the start, if that makes sense. So certain things would happen over time, but you need to give yourself time. You don't feel like you have to nail it at the start. I already showed, but I didn't show, but I told you about my first ever, proposed artwork. It wasn't there, but I had to get advice and be like, you know what, let's pause, So, and it comes from having some people around you. So you may not have a team at the start, but you have to be prayerful and ask God to bring the right people into your life. I remember whenever because I've got 2 kids, and whenever I was going into labor, I used to pray for the right doctors and the right nurses, because I still need a team, even though I'm the one who's going to have the baby, but I need the right doctors and the right nurses. And I think it's important to pray for the right people to come into your space. When I started out, as I said, I was as green as they come, but I was blessed with a good producer who believed in me and who didn't just press record and pause and bye, here's your CD. But he wanted to say, actually, let's have a look at your artwork. Let's see who could be a good collaboration. Let's build relationships. He was just doing more than a producer would do. But that's because I was blessed to have that one guy in my corner who was doing a bit more. And I was watching and learning and, just taking things from just that relationship as well. And that is an asset. So even if it's just praying for the right producer who believes in you, who knows your sound, who helps you hone your craft, who pushes you beyond what you'd normally be as a singer, that in itself, you've technically got a producer, technically got a vocal coach, technically got a bit of a pseudo brand person in your corner as well, because they inform how your style comes out as well. That is a blessing than just going into studio and some random person is just doing the job of an engineer and has no care in the world for what you're doing. That you're almost on your own in that space. So I just want to chip in the importance of prayer and being sensitive and being very intentional about the people that you work with, because you could work with one person and the way God uses them in your life, they could be doing 5 people's work. That one person could be like, oh, there's one person in my life, for example, she's a fan, but if I have anything, she brings a crew. So she might as well be like my pseudo marketing person, because anytime I have an event, especially when before COVID, when we go out to like the Hard Rocks and the Pizza Expresses, she'll bring a crew. So I know if I'm looking at her, I know X tickets sold, but she's just a fan. So you could have a couple of people in your life who are doing certain things that you need. If you're married, trust your spouse with your journey. A lot of people ask me, Sarah, how do you do this? Number one, my husband is not only my biggest fan, everything goes past him, not because he's controlling. No, if I have a gig, I show him all my clothes because, we work on the branding together. We work on the imaging together. Not because it's like, no, you can't wear that. But he's in my corner. every song that I produce, he listens to every stage of the mix. But that is all part of having a team. If you're going to be managing your diary and you're like overwhelmed, get your partner to be your booking agent. That box ticked. So you're not really, you don't have, the point I'm trying to make is you don't have to do this on your own. Because I know all the things that we've said may make you be like, oh my God, can I do this? Yes, you can. Because there are people in your life right now who could be filling in multiple, roles without you. They might even be doing it already without you knowing. So one thing I'd say, if you're an indie artist watching, if you haven't done this already, write a list of all the different things that need to be done. I remember when I started the journey, I used to make a list of what am I doing now? Who would normally do this if it was a label? That's literally what I did. Who would have done this if it was a label? And over time, that was how I was able to delegate, because I'm like, okay, this particular task that I've been doing for the last 4 years, I think I can actually pass this on to someone else. So when you start putting that list together, then you could actually be like, actually, this friend of mine, he's always been doing this without even knowing it. So there. Or that other friend of mine is a graphic designer. Okay. And if he's really good, obviously, then I'll put him in charge of, the graphics and the images and anything to do with social media. If they're good at Canva, you just know, you send it to them, they get it done. You don't have to do this on your own, because yes, you're independent. Yes, you may be a lone soldier, but you're not really on your own. I think that's the key thing that I thought I'd just, kind of highlight before we kind of carry on with the conversation. I don't know if anyone wants to add to that, but I thought I'll just drop that there as well.
I actually wanna something also just came to my mind, is to say, also try not to compare yourself to others, because oftentimes artists tend to put themselves under pressure because they comparing themselves to their friend, and their friend is now, their career is picking off and they still building on theirs, and now like they almost start losing hope, and stuff like that. So I would say remember that you're on your journey, and God is taking you on that journey. And there's a time for everything. Your time for actually taking up will not be the same as the time of the next person. So just focus on that journey, trust in God, trust that he's going to make everything beautiful in his time, and just carry on working, just carry on doing what you do. Sometimes you might be putting in the work and you don't really you're not seeing the results, but trust me, there's something that's happening. Just like the analogy of the water hitting a rock as if nothing is happening, until after such a long time the rock just burst open. The same thing would happen for your career. Just keep on doing what you're doing. Be constant in what you're doing. And yeah.
That's really good. That's really, really good. I just want to say to you guys watching on Facebook and YouTube, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and we will get our guests to respond to them as well. We've typically got some really interesting questions from the guys on YouTube and Facebook as well. Right, so then moving on to probably my penultimate question, if not my final question, is creating a fan base. I know, Jacy, you talked about your mailing list, and I think Andy or Segodi, but if I was a brand new artist just starting out, what kind of practical tip would you give somebody who is fresh? And I'm going to ask each one of you to start creating a fan base or a following, because the truth is there's always a day one for somebody. There's always a 0.0, and there are people watching now who may well be at that that stage. So just some practical tips on how do I start building a fan base.
Go ahead, Andy.
No, Becca, come on. You do it. I want to learn from you. You have more Instagram followers than me. Come on, I want
to well, okay. I think for me, what I've made known and still do to this point is that I always let my followers and my listeners know, whether it's just the monthly update from Spotify or the occasional update from Apple, saying Baba has reached this many streams in Canada, or Control has reached this many streams in Colombia, all that kind of stuff. I screenshot it and I post it because I want people to see that I see them. It's great being seen and knowing that you're seen, but I think it's equally as important to let your followers know that you see them. I always say people don't actually have to listen to your music. They don't have to stream. They don't have to buy your merch. They don't have to come to the events. But if they so choose to, not just one single, but recurring singles, recurring projects, and they're reposting or sharing on their stories or doing their TikToks and reels to them, that's reason to repost and celebrate, because it shows that yes, my fans, my supporters see me, but I want the world to know that I see them. So if anyone else chooses to listen to my music and support me in this way, they'll be seen too. And so I think it's a take and it's a give. It's take and it's give, take, however you the saying. But it's important to make those who support you feel as if they are needed, they are seen, and they are appreciated. And I think where you're loved, you will stay. Wherever you're loved and there's a genuine appreciation, you will stay. You know, whether it's relationships or just a give and take with a consumer and a provider. So that's one way in which I have seen my fan base grow and still see it grow to this day. So yeah. Andy.
Great. Yeah, caring about your audience is absolutely huge. It's so important. You've got to remember that your mission as an artist is not just about you. It's obviously about, if you're a Christian artist, it's about serving the Lord ultimately.
Yeah.
But it's about you bringing value to your audience and those you journey with, your team as well. I think there are three things in order to build a kind of a brand or a ministry or a business or whatever you're trying to do with your music. There are three things that artists need to understand. Firstly, you've got to understand the road ahead. You know, it's a long and winding road. You know, you need to kind of understand how to get to where you want to go. You need to be clear on where you're going, and then you need to take charge of the wheel. You know, you need to make sure that you're kind of taking care of all these things, like Sarah said earlier, about kind of knowing a little about a lot of different things. So we have this kind of infographic we show people called The Wheel, and it's, you know, looking at your songs and your sound and your style and your show and your story and your systems and your strategy. It's kind of making sure you understand those things. And then finally, you know, you've got the road ahead of you, you've grabbed hold of the wheel, but to get anywhere, you need fuel in the tank. You need to think through how are you going to get there? How are you going to fund your journey forward? Are you going to earn money through your music? Are you going to self-fund from your 9 to 5? Are you going to get investment? Are you going to crowdfund? Are you going to do a subscription model? Are you going to apply for grants? Or for a lot of artists, it's doing 4 or 5 of those things. So I think if you've got those ideas, you can get yourself in the driving seat and you can actually move forward as an artist. But that takes a little bit of time to do that. So I think that's what's needed, really. You need that kind of overarching structure, because a lot of artists just think, well, I want a platform, so I'll promote myself. But they've forgotten to kind of find partners. They've forgotten to develop a product. They've forgotten to come up with a process. They've forgotten to write out a plan. And I think that's where people don't really see that it is actually a long and winding road. It's not just like I'll release some songs and then I'll become famous and then I'll do this a career. I think it's a lot more involved with it. But I love the kind of visual way of looking at through the road and the wheel and getting fuel in the tank. It really helps me to solidify what's involved in being a music artist.
Yeah, that's really, really good. Thanks, Andy.
I would say, just as a starter list, it's okay to not be for everybody. And you have to be okay with that, because your voice or your music is not for everybody. And as much as we are Christians and gospel, still in that we are not going to be for everybody. And that's and when we understand that, one of the biggest things that you need to do as almost like a starter for 10 is you have to understand the audience that is being drawn to you. And so if you understand the audience that's being drawn to you, then you can understand the value that you can give to your audience. Once you understand the value that you give to your audience, in return, they are going to show you the support that is required for your music. And so find what consistency looks like for you. So if it's not posting every day on social media, that's absolutely fine. But once your audience knows, you know what, she's going to show up every single Tuesday at 1:00, I'm there. You know, just little things like that, and understanding who you serve, understanding why you serve them, understanding how you're going to serve them, and then understanding what you're going to serve them will aid you in on this road of this journey called independent artist. Because before any label touches you now, they want to know that you have an audience that understands you, that is going to buy your ticket, is going to stream your music. Before they even smell you, they want to see numbers. Like that's their concern. They're not concerned about, oh my God, you have a great voice, we can make this out of you. No, what are your numbers? You know, what are you looking like on Spotify? What are you looking on Apple? Before you even get there, understand your message and understand who you are. And so then you can begin to start crafting out a lane for yourself. Because if you are a gospel R&B singer, that's absolutely fine. Now you can start gravitating towards those people who listen to that. And they will come. They will absolutely come. And now it's like, before we used to see stuff like, you know, people would just show up when they wanted to drop an album. And then they would wonder why people wouldn't invest in them. It's because you didn't add no value to my life.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you didn't come on, this is an exchange here. Like, if you want my pounds, you're gonna have to give me £5. Like let's call a spade a spade. But it all comes down to value. Like, what is it that you're giving to your audience that is of value for them to give back to you? And so understanding the what, the why, the when, and the how will take you a long way. And also understanding that it's okay to not be for everybody. But once you find that core base, they will ride with you for life.
Totally agree. Agree. We've had some questions come through. I'm going to take the first one. I think you might have alluded a bit to it, Jacy. Is it possible for you guys to put together a starters list for us? A starters list, probably Andy could send you a starters list. So at the end of, am I right, Andy? That could be something that you could send. So, yeah.
We're about to start a free. We've got a 7-day program we're launching actually end of this month, like a free 7-day series for people, just to kind of cover the kind of wheel that I talked about and stuff, which just takes you around all the things that you need to do to take control of your music. So yeah, I can send a link round for that. We're starting that on the 26th of July, but that's a really good starting program for anyone looking at, you know, where get the keys in the ignition, you know, where do I start really? It's going to be a really cool program for people there.
Yeah. So Dion King, or do they email you to get onto the information?
Can you, do you want to pop
I can put your email on if that's okay.
Sure. Okay? Yeah.
So let me put the email. What's the email for them to contact?
The best one, just they can just email me, andy@resoundmedia.co.uk.
Okay.
Yeah, if anyone wants access to that, it's free of charge to join, and be a cool program.
Yep. So I've just put the email address. Make a note of it, guys, and be in contact, or should I say be in touch, and they'll be in contact with more information on that. So you can get a good starters list. Hopefully that will give you, I think it's a 7-day, you said, it give you access to a 7-day.
Yeah, it's a 7-day program called Drive Your Music Forward in 7 days. So
excellent. I love that. Drive your music forward in 7 days. Good stuff. So that's definitely something that's going to be helpful to someone out there. And then the other question we have is more so from a musician than an independent artist, saying, how does one even get to a point of being an artist in the first place, especially for someone who doesn't necessarily want to be an artist but is looking to be a musician, like a pianist or a backing vocalist? So slightly different theme here, but I don't know if you guys wanted to at least give some advice. or not? Any thoughts on that? Basically starting out maybe as a session singer sort of thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe just like Andy said, making it super clear what you want to do, because it's kind of like a if and maybe kind of question, and just, you know, no shot to the person, but it's crucial that you just figure out in your head what you want to do. Do I want to play? Do I want to do backing vocals? Or do I want to offer up both? You know? And so it's just really being sold and steadfast on that. Could that change along your journey? Of course. And, you know, you'd give room to God to show you which direction to go in. But going into something like this, such a fickle industry where things are one way today and completely the other way tomorrow, you need to know and be anchored in what it is you want to do. Obviously who you're doing it for as well, as Sarah said earlier, but what you want to do. This is about Jesus, yes, but how am I trying to exalt him? Through what avenue am I trying to proclaim his name in the earth? You have to get specific. You have to get anal with the details. You have to. I am never going to try and cross over into Governor B's name.
For what?
That's not me. That's
exactly.
Not me.
Yeah.
I could rap a little bit, but I ain't gonna be no Governor B. I ain't gonna be no A-Star, no Face Truck, no The Truth, no Lecrae, whoever else you want to name. But who I can be is Becca Folks, and what Becca Folks can do is this. So I'd say to you, just really be sold on what it is you want to do and work towards it.
Thanks for that.
I think to add on to that is to say, maybe also try to find what is it that you are passionate about, because when the tough gets going, it is your passion that's going to keep you keep doing what you're doing.
That's a really good one. And I'll probably add to that as well. When you then identify what it is that you want to do and you know you're sold out, find people who have gone ahead of you and learn from them as well. So whether you want to be a musician, a session singer, or even an independent artist, you can always and you should always learn from people who have gone ahead of you. So I think that's one of the most important things.
And then
Jacy.
network. Go network. Go hang out where they are. Go be like, so in the UK, I think it's Roy Bar? Anyway, one of those bars if you're in the UK. Yeah, Troy Bar, if they were still open. I don't know if they're still open now. But anyway, but yeah, go hang out where they hang out. Go hang out where the singers hang out. Go hang out where the musicians hang out and shed with them. Just stand there. Because one day one of them will say, "Oh, bro, what do? You play? You do this? Oh, jump on keys now, jump." And that's how they test you sometimes. That's how they test you. Then they start saying, "Oh no, he was actually all right. You know, maybe we can bring him on." So network, get yourself, especially for a musician, you have to get out there. Like you have to be in the room that they are in. Like literally, if you hear that they're having a rehearsal, you're at that rehearsal and you're just sitting there. You're not doing nothing, not asking for nothing. You're just sitting there. Just sitting there, and you're making your introduction. So yeah, network as well. Network.
Yeah. And if you can, just to add to that as well, if you can, do something for free, you know, if it's going to be singing for free, or because sometimes people don't give you a platform until they know what you can do, but they may never know what you can do until you offer it up for free. So that could be another way to break into the space. And it could be for anything really, not just for being a singer, anything in life. Sometimes that's why people volunteer. They go and volunteer. Next thing you know, they get an actual job in the place. So this is what it is. So I'm going to wrap it up there. But before we go, because this is the penultimate episode of Equilibrium Live, we're in episode 9, and we're going up to episode 10. And I have been toying with different topics for the last episode. I'd love for you guys to help me, okay? You guys on Facebook and YouTube, I'd like you to comment. So the first option I had was to do a compilation of all the 9 episodes and take a snippet of about a 10-minute snippet of the highest point of the conversations, compile all of those and put them into a video, timestamp everything. So topic by topic, you've got some key takeaways and put that onto YouTube so you guys can watch it next week. So that was option 1. which is my preference. Option 2, because then I don't need to find any guests. Option 2 is to do a topic which sometimes is a bit controversial, and it's about exporting the UK Christian/gospel music sound. So that would open up a whole can of worms, as in, what is the UK sound? What is UK gospel? What is it? And I always like having those conversations because it always gets really interesting.
Season 2. That's for season 2.
I know, right?
That's for season 2.
Oh my days. But yeah, so that's the other option. And then I wanted to let you guys tell me what else you might want to, learn about or hear about. But those are the 2 ideas that I have. So if you have any other ideas, let me know. But if I don't see or hear anything, it just means I'm going to do the compilation and I wouldn't have to organize any guests. It's a lot of work, I have to tell you. I enjoy it though. I really do. I mean, for me, it just almost comes effortless, but it's because I enjoy it. So let me know, guys, if you can, in the comments whilst I just say my final words. So do you want a compilation video? Do you want the topic that I talked about, or do you want something else altogether? If you want something else altogether, I'm going to have to think of who to bring on. So hopefully you don't go for option 3. But thank you so much.
Do they have an option for both?
How can they? It's only one more episode. It's only one more episode coming up. So
yeah, well, maybe somebody say, I want an option of saying, okay, you're gonna give me the one more additional episode, and then after that, just give me a compilation of all the 10.
So episode 11, you want us to go all the way to... I have an album to promote people, okay, and that takes a lot of time. So oh my goodness. So Matt says compilation sounds good. Best bits, exactly. So I think that's the winner. That's definitely my preference as well. So we're going to go for a compilation video next week. But I think it would be good as a recap, so we can actually see what the high points were from each episode and kind of remind ourselves of the things that we've learned. It's been a journey. I didn't realize it was going to be 9 weeks when I started. 9 weeks, just about. Yeah, when I started, this was a conversation on radio versus Spotify. And it kind of opened up a whole can of worms about the knowledge gap in the industry. So I figured, let me just do whatever I can to help plug the gap. And I've been getting lots of great feedback from people who've been watching back, making notes, taking action even in their individual journey. So it's been, for me, a rewarding journey and exercise to embark on. So thank you so much on Facebook, YouTube, for joining. I know some people have been here every single week. I see certain people are here every single week. So thank you so much for being a part of the journey, being part of Equilibrium Live, and for the last 9-10 weeks. And I don't know what's going to happen next, but whatever it is, it's going to be really exciting. Well, actually, I do know what's going to happen next. I'm going to be promoting my album. So if you haven't already pre-ordered it, go on to cheeky plug, but hey, I'm a salesperson now. If you haven't already pre-ordered it, go on to Bandcamp and pre-order my new album, Restored, which actually on Bandcamp, you get 2 tracks instantly. You get Secure, which is actually right now climbing the Billboard charts, and God Alone, which hasn't been released before. So that is a new song that you can get instantly on Bandcamp. Bandcamp, this is now another topic, but I'm going to touch on it really quickly. For the independent artists out there, Bandcamp is one of the, if not the best places to sell your music, because unlike Apple, well, Spotify, you can't sell music. I think Apple and Amazon are the only other places you can actually sell music. But unlike those 2 platforms, on Bandcamp, people can pay whatever they want for your music. So I've had my super fans pay £20 for my album, which is $6.99 on iTunes. So it's got a base price, but then it's open to, you can pay whatever you want over and above the price that's listed. So hence why I'm pushing everyone to Bandcamp. So if you're an independent artist thinking of where to sell your music, we didn't even scratch the surface and what all the things you need to know.
I must say, you would have made more money selling it on Rocket Fuel with upsells and other things.
Exactly.
But we can talk about that after.
I was going to say, does that include it being so when you set it up at Bandcamp? Sorry guys, I might be derailing. So when you set it up on Bandcamp, is it the same as using, like, I don't know, DistroKid to upload it to?
No, you do it yourself.
Completely different.
It's independent. So literally in my own, or from my laptop, I load it straight onto Bandcamp, and it's at my discretion. I can set whatever price I want,
Oh, nice.
and you can sell gig tickets as well. So definitely something to check out if you're an indie artist looking for places to sell. And of course, you can also check out Rocket Fuel, as Annie has said.
And is that rocketfuel.co.uk?
Rocketfuelhq.com. But I'll introduce you. This is Archie the astronaut. So he's our brand mascot. So if you come to Rocket Fuel, you may end up getting an Archie if you do really well through it. But
I love it.
Where's my Archie then?
Well, you went over to Bandcamp, Sarah. So Archie's not very happy. He's not very happy at all. He's quite angry that you're selling products somewhere else. More. But anyway, he'll with you.
Don't worry, I'm going to get my Archie before the end of 2021. But no, guys, so Get Restored on Bandcamp and instantly get 2 songs immediately. And then you can get the rest of the album on the 30th of July when it's all out. And on the 24th of July, I've got an online concert to launch the album. And that's happening at 7 p.m. BST. I know Segodi is going to be there. He's already told me. I think he's even bringing his South African crew virtually to the concert. So, and the thing is, because I'm streaming it exclusively on my website, I can only stream it to so many people. Otherwise, the website could crash. So I'm getting close to the limit of the number of people that I can stream to. So don't wait till the last minute because you just might be too late. So go onto my website, sarahtéibo.co.uk, and get your ticket. I'm going to put it there, .co.uk/gigs, and get your ticket to the virtual album release concert, which is also, I forgot to say, I'm doing it in conjunction with a Step Forward to support a UK charity, Compassion UK. And £5 from every ticket is going to help them sponsor at least one more child through Compassion. So let's make that happen as well. I think that is everything I was going to say. Again, I feel like every good thing has to come to an end, I guess, because it feels a bit emotional. Like I want to do another one, but yeah, I have so much to do. I'd really want to, but I'm sure we'll be doing something along the lines of music mentoring, like Jacy prophesied, season 2. So I think a season 2 is going to happen. But I've really, really thoroughly enjoyed doing this. All the guests that have come have been phenomenally experienced, willing to share they have so much knowledge and experience, and they've just been willing to put their time and pour themselves into the people watching. So it's been really exciting. So thank you again, Jacy, Segodi, Becca, Andy, for being the final guests on Equilibrium Live. Becca, you want to say something?
Yes, before we go, can we breathe a word of prayer over you?
Oh, thank you.
For the work you've done.
Oh, thank you.
This is not a small thing that you're doing. You are literally revitalizing and refreshing this industry as we know it just by your yes. And so we'd be remiss if we did not cover you in prayer for the load that's ahead, because those of us who've released EPs here, we can only imagine what's coming with an album. So we just want to cover you with just a quick word of prayer. Father God, we honor you. We thank you. We love you. We acknowledge you as the focal point of this conversation, the focal point of our lives, and the focal point of why we do what we do. It is for the glorification and the exaltation of your name in a very dark world right now. Father God, I thank you for the vessel that is Sarah Téibo. I thank you, Jesus, that years ago she gave her yes to a life with you. And as of late, she's given her yes to a life of one as an artist and a innovator in this industry, in this country, Father God. And we pray together, Jesus, that you cover her mind, cover her physical body, her mortal body, Jesus. This thing is very taxing. There are many late nights, there are many sleepless nights. But Father God, we know that as we call on your name and as we depend on you, you are the one who will hold us up like Aaron and her. You will uphold our left and right hand to enable us to carry the load and do the work ahead. And so, Father God, I pray for that same strength to come upon Sarah, Jesus. Let her find strength in her home. through her husband, through her children. May she find strength in her church community, in mentorship, even with relationships with people like Andy, Father God, and so many others, Jesus. Be the light to her when there seems to be a whole bunch of noise and darkness. Be her light, be her guide, Father God. Shine your light on the path and show her the way, Jesus. Anoint her voice for ministry, anoint her pen for ministry, but most importantly, God, cover her heart and guard her heart for the tasks to come. We adore you. We thank you for season 1 of Equilibrium, and we yet wait for season 2. The lessons that we will learn. In your name we pray. Amen. We love you, Sarah.
I love you too, Becca. Thank you so much. Oh, thanks so much, guys. You make me want to cry now. I can't cry on camera, so there. No, thank you. Love you guys. And love you guys too, Facebook and YouTube fam. You've been amazing. I'm going to let you go. It's been a long night. I think this probably is the longest one we've done so far. So thanks for hanging with us. Until next time, I guess. Well, next week, I'm going to put the compilation live as well. So you can actually, I'm going to stream it live, and then you can always, engage and ask questions and do whatever you want to do live. But it will be a live stream. So don't worry, it's going to be live and you can watch it live, even though it's going to be a compilation. So hopefully it'll be interesting, and you can comment and reminisce over if you were in the episodes, the season or the episode that you watched. But no, thank you so much for hanging. I'm going to let you go, get some good rest. Thank you. God bless. And again, please don't forget, get your tickets to the event and get your album on Bandcamp or Apple. God bless you guys and stay safe.